Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, November 15th. Wow, would you look at the calendar? Only 40 days till Christmas. Can't wait to see what Santa's bringing me this year, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and welcome our friends in the audience. We've got a smashing show. If you haven't seen last night's, wow, you've got something in store for you today. What do we have out there in the chat? We have Amiga Rules, Andy W. Anonymous Rex is here. Good to see you, Tim. Digger Dog, Evan B. and Fireflies in the chat with our dear friend Greg O'Brien. Yeah, that's that Greg. Gray Hair Discoveries is here, along with Jan, J-Cat, J-Paul. Cap Crook is around, along with Kelly Broten, those piercing blue eyes. Good to see you as always, Kelly. Ms. Cussout's here. Sam Scooby Dooby Gooby is in the audience, along with Sebastian Kramer. Great to see Shelley Montgomery in the chat, along with Tech Money, the Chromosome Cowboy, Thea Marie, and Turtlehead. And before I do any further, I need to go over to Greg O'Brien. Make him a... No, go ahead and jump into the back. We got a heck of a show up for us today. Mike, how you doing, my friend?
Oh, I'm doing well, Thomas. Yeah, we're having an interesting Saturday show.
Oh.
Yeah, I believe so.
Okay. I have to stop and restart the show. My audio is set up wrong. Let me turn off the camera. And, okay, folks, we'll be right back in about 10 seconds. We'll be right back. Streaming. And we're back. Sorry about that, folks. Yeah, I had the audio set up for 7.1 audio, and YouTube doesn't like that, so we should all be fine now. Yeah, what a great show we had last night, Mike. Greg O'Brien's videos that he captured last week has brought a new visibility on a different phenomena that I've never seen before. And we're talking about patterns and shapes showing up for 1/30th of a second. It's there, it's gone. What the heck was that? I don't know, Mike, but it's something that really begs explanation from our top physicists out there who are investigating this and are well aware of cloaked craft that accompany spheres like we're seeing. And let's jump in. Actually, before we jump into this, Mike, I'm kind of all over the place right now. This is just, it's one of those things that goes on that just kind of throws you out for a loop and say, what the hell are we dealing with? Yeah, not at a loss for words, but as much as, what the fuck are we dealing with? You know what I mean? All right, let's go ahead and get this out of the way. Let me go ahead and get X. Our first thing we're going to go ahead and cover before we jump into some additional analysis on some higher resolution files that were sent across by Greg O'Brien before the show. I think, oh God, yes, we'll get to this in a second. Yes, we'll cover this in a bit. This one's pretty interesting. There looks to be a not so peaceful. Let's bring this out. Not there, not guestful. This one here. There seems to be a revolution, something going on. They're trying to storm the presidential palace currently in Mexico. So if you haven't seen this, not as good as the protests that were going on earlier today in Bristol. The Antifa folks, no, this is the presidential palace in Mexico. So, look at it. It's a mostly peaceful protest going on. We've heard that one before. On that note, let me go ahead and just get to my bookmarks here. Let's go ahead and get this video and bring it up. I know it should be at the top of my bookmarks. Yeah, we've got a whole bunch of that stuff. Well, it's almost here. It should be here. Let me look and search my bookmarks. All right. Wait a minute. Who in the audience?
Right, Thomas, yes. Before you go, your camera's not on in the back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Cheers.
As I'm searching for the video we're going to go ahead and play, I know I have it out there. Who in the audience can get this one? What is the saying in this one? Took me a minute. Anyone in the chat get this one? Yes, make it so. Firefly got it. All right, as I distract everybody on that, I should have been going ahead and getting up this thing. Let's It's a 6.5-minute video coming to us from Fox News. Let me get to this one, bookmarks again. No, it's not showing up. Dan. Damn it, I will find it in a second. I thought I had this video saved. What the hell is it? Where did it go? Oh my goodness. All right, is this the full one? All right, 5 minutes and 37 seconds coming to us from our friends over at Fox News. We have an interview coming up with Bret Baier and the director of Age of Disclosure. Let me go ahead and download this video here. Let's get to it. Downy, let's get that up, bring it down. It'll just take a couple seconds to go ahead and download this from X. Come on. There we go. Skip. Open an external application. All right, here we go. Let's get to the first part of our story today, the Age of Disclosure. Are we alone? The documentary we're all waiting for to come and see has the director of the actual movie on Fox News. Let's listen to this interview and hear about what's in store for all of us today. Here we go, folks.
The director and producer of The Age of Disclosure.
We've had repeated instances of something operating in the airspace over restricted nuclear facilities, and it's not ours.
They have both deactivated and activated nuclear weapons with both the United States and Russia.
These are otherworldly things that are performing maneuvers that haven't been seen.
The UAP activity surrounding nuclear weapons is not a historic issue. It's an ongoing issue.
Well, joining us now to talk about his new film, The Age of Disclosure, is director and producer Dan Farah. He says the documentary reveals an 80-year cover-up of non-human intelligent life and a secret war among major nations to reverse engineer advanced technology of non-human origin. The film will be released in select theaters in New York, Washington, and Los Angeles on November 21st. Also available worldwide to purchase and rent on Prime Video. Dan, thanks for being here. You've been working on this for more than 3 years, and you say this is going to be a groundbreaking documentary.
Yeah. I interviewed 34 extremely high-level military, government intelligence officials who all have direct knowledge of this issue. Much of what they know is classified, but in this film they break their silence on what they can lawfully disclose.
I mean, there's a lot of skepticism, as you know. There's a lot of stigmatism about this issue. But as you're talking to all of these people and you're building these blocks for this movie, you get to the point where it's not a matter of if it's happening or if it's real.
Yeah, so every single person I interviewed made it very clear that it was no longer a question of whether this was a real situation. It's a very real situation.
Humanity is not the only intelligence in the universe.
Humanity is not the only intelligent species.
We are absolutely not alone.
Non-human intelligence exists.
UAPs are real, they're here, and they're not human.
The questions now are, who's controlling these UAP? Where do they come from? And what is their intention?
This sounds, I mean, it's hard for everybody to digest. And an 80-year cover-up with a country that keeps it deep and dark, and it hasn't gotten out. That's the tough part for people to buy into.
Yeah, so a number of the officials in my film make it clear that a long time ago, this topic was moved away from congressional oversight and even away from the oversight of the President of the United States. And there are certain elements within our government and within defense contractors that have really been gatekeeping the knowledge about this topic.
And there are people in this film who are respected in their fields who say they have seen these craft and have seen the recovered non-human bodies.
I have seen with my own eyes non-human craft and non-human beings.
They go on the record about the fact that there have been crashed craft that have been recovered. In some cases, there's been non-human bodies in these craft, they claim. And these are people who are putting their reputation and their names on the line. You know, often you hear people say, show me the evidence. In my opinion, 34 extremely credible people putting their name and reputation on the line is the best evidence, because we live at a time where you could put a video or a photo out and half the people out there will say it's fake or
because
AI.
AI and everything else. The title is Age of Disclosure, and do you think that this is going to start something bigger? The premise of this is that there is a race to reverse engineer what has been recovered by different countries, essentially competing against one another.
Yeah. So one of the big reveals in the film that a number of the interview subjects share is that elements of the U.S. government are in a high-stakes secret Cold War race with adversarial nations like China and Russia to reverse engineer technology of non-human origin.
The first country that cracks the code on this technology will be the leader for years to come.
China has established its own version of a UAP task force.
You think for a second that they wouldn't consider using it to achieve their ends of domination?
This is similar to the Manhattan Project. This is the atomic weapon on steroids.
We won the atomic race, and we used the bomb to end World War II, and we became the definitive superpower for the next 100 years as a result. The fear here is that if another nation wins this race, it could really change the lay of the land in terms of power.
But for the people who are still skeptical, still can't get their head around it, they're going to watch this, maybe they'll have their eyes opened, but many might ask, why now? Why is it happening now?
So for a very long time, the public, Congress, and even the president have been kept out of the loop on this subject. In the last few years, senior members of Congress, senior members of the administration, thanks to whistleblowers, have found out what's been going on. And they are now in pursuit of the truth for themselves and for the American people.
Even presidents have been operating on a need-to-know basis, but that begins to ramp out of control.
It's not acceptable to have secret parts of government that no one ever sees.
I think it's only a matter of time at this point before we have a sitting president step to the microphone and have the biggest moment a leader can possibly have, which is telling all of humanity that we're not alone in the universe and that the United States intends to lead the way.
Interesting conversation. We never know where this is going to go in disclosure. The movie looks good, I have to say. It looks, but oh boy, how do I take this, Andy? Actually, you know what? I'm going to take this, make it so when we talk, I'm going to go ahead and play this video in the background. Let's go ahead and do this, get this out of the way. And, my biggest concerns, Andy, I see your hand is up to go ahead and talk about this, but one of my concerns coming into the whole conversation is they talk about we have all these different people who have come forward, right, with regards to intelligence people from the government, etc. Don't forget, back in the day, we had it where we had 100 intelligence people, give or take, come out and say that the laptop from Hunter Biden was Russian disinformation. So it's hard to know when we hear people and we're getting the truth from them, is it really the truth or not? Andy, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say, the fact that Fox are leading with this story, for all of us who've been in this subject, for many, many years, it's all old hand, we're not again. But actually, the vast amount of the general public who think of us as tinfoil hat wearing weirdos, right? This is actually, I think this is really good for them, and the fact that Fox is actually doing such a on the level reporting of it. There's no X-Files music. There's no little green men. References and everything we've had to put up with in the past. The fact that they are actually doing this as a proper news story, and you were saying, about people coming out. Now, we have an issue here going on, a little something with a certain, TV broadcast group.
BBC?
Yeah, that's causing an awful lot of ructions, for completely biased news reporting, and on whether you like Trump or not, what the BBC did was absolutely abhorrent. Yeah, absolutely abhorrent. And
so just to recap for everybody to know, the BBC went and edited out Trump's speech before the whole January 6th thing happened and took out sections of it, put it together, presented it as a contiguous piece to make it sound like the current president at that time was enabling and supporting and pushing forward an insurrection that he didn't.
In fact, they cut out an hour of his speech, and they spliced it together to make it look as though he was inciting violence. You know, so if a so-called world leader and one that everybody looked up to can do something like this on one of their news programs or one of their programs, you know, the fact that this subject is actually being talked about by Fox in a very, very, you know, a grown-up way is, for my mind, is absolutely brilliant, and I commend Fox for doing it.
Yeah.
You know, whether we'll hear anything out of it, but to get it to the people who need to know about this, which is the general public. You know, we always say, oh, people aren't interested. They never look up at their, you know, out of their phones. To actually have Fox broadcasting this for the American people, where they're talking at an actual, you know, properly investigative.
And by the way, Andy, this is Bristol, UK earlier today I've put up there.
Yeah, I didn't know about that until I came on here. Oh, well, it's a dump anyway. I might live here. I don't have to love the place.
Yeah. But it's Antifa. It's the same problem we have here in the United States. This, if you want to call it a distributed organization, it's almost like, you know, we have gig workers these days, people who come in, but they're not employees, but they're actually doing the job. So they're not a terrorist organization, but they are. So it's like, are they or aren't they? And it definitely seems they are.
Well, on that, I'd love to ask, you know, how many of these people, these Antifa or whatever they call themselves, were actually from Bristol?
Right.
I think very few, personally. I don't think they've just walked, you know, I bet if you found some buses around, you know, some coaches to bring them in. Not like the good old days, you know, when you had the soccer, you know, I went to watch a soccer game when I was young, and there was some animosity between our local team and the ones who came in. And me and some friends were walking home. We heard a screeching, looked back, and there was one of the coaches from the town that this team was playing, with all of their windows smashed in, driving at high speed out of the town. You know, so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's most of it, as we know, you've had it in your country as well. You know, the vast majority of these people that are actually causing the issues in whatever city they're in actually don't reside in those cities. So yeah, and I'm probably 100% certain this is the case here.
Yeah, but you know, when it comes down to dealing with UFOs or the truth, and on the upper left-hand corner of what I've got going right now, let me get this down. This is outside of the presidential palace in Mexico right now. It looks like there truly is a coup going on by the people, not the military, but the actual people are trying to take out the current president of Mexico. While we have Antifa battling the general people, I'll call it. I'm not going to say Antifa is going against, if you want to call it, the hard right in the United Kingdom. It's more like they're just against the people who are just be proud to be citizens of the United Kingdom.
Yeah, you know, let's say this was down in the city centre. Yeah, most people. I unfortunately had to go there on Friday. I try to go there as little as possible. So, yeah, it's probably tidied the place up a bit, actually.
Yeah, probably get some different stuff out there. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on outside of Disclosure and different things that are happening. Interesting you bring this stuff up, Andy. Any thoughts from you, Mike, on the age of Disclosure? It does look like it could be something good. It seems it'll be tied a bunch more to the people who are, you know, really interested in the UFO phenomena, which is about 40 to 50% of the United States. But it's not like they're going ahead and bringing in any new great evidence, just a bunch of statements from people. And, you know, this is what I've got a clip here from Chris Leto, who's going and saying, you know, the next thing we're going to deal with, we don't need evidence. We just have to listen to the experiencers and the people who have experienced these things firsthand. But Mike, doesn't that bring us into a heavy dose of trust me, bro syndrome?
Oh, it absolutely does, Thomas. If the general public can't see actual craft and bodies, they will not take any of these stories seriously.
Yeah.
None of them will, no matter who it is.
Yeah.
So they need proof. And unfortunately, it seems like this documentary doesn't really provide any of that. It's all circumstantial and hearsay. It's speculation.
Right.
Not evidence.
It's the same thing, Mike, when I talk about my experience when I just turned 5 years old in 1973. I can talk about it, but I don't have any freaking evidence, so I don't talk about it a lot because this is my personal life. Now, if I went and gave my blood to Gary Nolan, could he pick something up in it? Maybe, and if he could, I'd more than happy to give it to him. Have you heard on X, they're now demonizing completely, besides Jay Stratton and everybody else, Hell Putoff and stuff, they've been doing a hard attack on Gary Nolan lately, and it just doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. They're attacking his sexuality, which is really nobody's business and has no bearing on disclosure, but yeah, they're really sinking to low levels at this point.
Yeah. And, they're basically saying he was, forcing or lying to people to get samples of their blood from Rendlesham. Honestly, if I was at Rendlesham and I went through a bunch of shit and I could give my blood to someone who could go ahead and dig deeper and figure out what the hell I was exposed to, Mike, wouldn't you want to go ahead and provide that little several vials of your blood to figure out, is there something wrong with me? Has something changed? What the hell did we deal? What am I going to deal with now? But what am I going to deal with 10, 20 years down the road? Kind of like the people who got the COVID vaccine.
Right.
Oh
exactly
my God.
like that.
Oh,
so,
God.
Yeah, I absolutely would want to know. But they're sinking to really low levels, these trolls. And they continue to do that against you, me, Lou, and now they're dragging Gary Nolan into this.
Gary Nolan, Hal Putoff, Jay Stratton. Everybody is getting thrown under the bus these days. And, they're not saying nice things. Let's just say that. I would almost say the kind of statements that are being made are libelous, and they'll learn about it, not from multiple people. Let's just say that.
Oh, absolutely. Christmas is going to come early this year.
Oh, yeah.
So
and
looking forward to that.
It could be a year of Christmas ahead, my friend. You never know where it's going to go.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. So
the gifts will just keep on coming. So
exactly.
That's a good thing.
So besides the age of disclosure and what we've got going on here, Mexico is just going frickin' crazy. Here's another shot of what's going on.
Civil war in Mexico right
now.
Yeah.
There's not so much. There it is, going crazy today. They're trying to get by the barriers to get into where the president of Mexico is. So a lot of crazy things going on. Yeah. But on that note, let's get beyond that and let's get back to what's going on here in the land of disclosure. So if you were here last night, in last night's episode, let me go ahead and find my pictures here. We were dealing with, let me get this one up here. 1 second. There we go. We got that. One more second. I've got another one here. Hold on. I know I've got it here somewhere. Here we go. Almost there. We're dealing with Greg O'Brien, who's in the back right now. Thank you for joining us, Greg. It's great to have you here today. Let me go ahead and shut down the age of disclosure and bring it up. Now, Greg, when he was out and about in Rockville, Maryland, with his iPhone 13, recorded what he thought was just an orb. But digging deep into the video of what he had actually recorded, not only did he go ahead and, where's that at? See an orb, and we've added contrast to this so we can help people see what's going on with it. Not only did he see an orb, he saw something that when it vanished and disappeared would go ahead and reveal like a grid pattern of things. Sometimes it was like a checkerboard. Sometimes it was like a washboard to a degree. But most importantly, the thing that it actually showed was that there was, for one frame, at 30 frames a second, there were objects that were showing up that kind of looked like this. And this isn't a weather effect. This isn't birds. This isn't anything. This is a gravitational anomaly, something that's going on that's actually causing this stuff to show up. So we're talking about two potential things here. Let me get to the bottom of this. One is it's either a reflective cloaking of a transparent object anomaly, or we're dealing with micro lensing, which is like what we saw in the Aguadillo, Puerto Rico incident that went on of a craft that there's a gravitational warp field, and that's what's actually bringing some of the stuff out. It could be a combination of both of those things, but we've got it to where we've got an object. When it disappears, we'll see stuff like this, and also grid line, like a washboard effect. And then we've got this particular thing. Now, it's not birds, insects, balloons, lens flare, compression artifacts, dust, raindrops on the lens. It's not pixel blocks, glare, normal clouds, bokeh, or aircraft exhaust. It's best described as, Jay Albertson, you have your hand up. Do you want to describe it with your description, or do you want me to read it out?
No, you can go ahead, Thomas.
Okay, so image 1 is the object. If we're talking about, here's a luminous orb, silver in color, observed north of Rockville, Maryland, when Greg was going ahead, facing to the northeast. And then image 2, the orb briefly vanishes, and for approximately 1/30th of a second, a distinct geometric shape appears in its place. Across 5 separate videos, the phenomenon repeats multiple times. The object demonstrates intermittent invisibility, duplication, momentarily appearing as 2 to 4 separate objects. It has stationary behavior despite winds aloft. It also at times shows a checkerboard or washboard-like square pattern during phases of the orb as it becomes partially or fully invisible. And plus also we saw something else that was going on to where there was a larger object moving across the scene that appeared to be something that it's not moving at our time and space, because it's appearing in multiple places simultaneously, but it's jumping across the frame 1/30th of a second at a time from here to here to here to here, and it's gone.
Regardless of what we come up with the what this could be, it still shows intelligence.
Right. Well, it shows intelligence
in shapes in nature or any of that.
No, this is not a natural shape you'll see in nature. However, we've got this object, Jay.
Yeah.
That's from United Kingdom. I forget what year it was recorded in. God, I got this earlier today. I think it was 2020. Was it 2020? I guess, see, I've closed down the windows when I did the search on this particular one. Anyway, this is a crop circle that when it was brought out, let's see where did I do the window on this one? Let me find the windows. Hold on. This one here, window. Here we go. That appeared next to a deep space telescope that it put out a message and received a message from an alien civilization reflecting this particular part in its response. And that there kind of looks like that, but it also, let's go ahead and bring this up next to each other so audience can see it. Not exact, but there are definite similarities between that, Jay.
Definitely similarities. Like I said, it shows symmetry, and you never see that in nature as a natural phenomenon. So you can't explain that as anything being natural at this time unless we can, find something. But at this point, no, there's not. It's
not, absolutely. So if now working with Greg, he went and resent the videos across that he had sent before. He emailed them from iMessage, which allows you, if you share them on iMessage at full size, it'll go ahead and upload the full video, full resolution to iCloud without recompressing the image and give you a link to go ahead and download that video. So coming out of that, let me go ahead and find my browser window, and I've got a window here where I've got 5 files in sequential order that we can go ahead and take a look at. And it should be a little bit higher resolution than what we saw yesterday. We have files, image 1611 move, 1612, 1614, 1616, and 1620. Now, Greg, I have to ask you a question. Were there things in between there that you didn't send across? Because it looks like we're missing... we're missing we have go from 12 to 14, but we're missing 13, and we go from 14 to 16, and we're missing 15, but then you jump up to 20 from 16, which means we're missing a bunch of different images or videos.
Yeah, so you're right. I think there's like 2 more like 17-second videos which really show the same things. That's why I didn't send them across. And
well, send it all across. You never know what's going to be there, please.
Okay.
It's kind of like when we got the videos of what took place in Malta, and we saw the aircraft going ahead and, if you want to call it, getting interacted from a UFO that was coming down at 14,000 miles per hour, intercepted a jet fighter, and then shot off screen. When that happened, here's a close-up of this particular frame. Now, this aircraft that we're seeing, this object is at the same level, literally right above it before it comes in and goes in front of the craft. And if we look at this, this is about 1/3, we've done the measurements on it, of the size of this actual fighter. And if you go ahead, that's used by the red arrows, by the way, and this fighter is 11.9 meters in length. Let's just call it 12 meters, which means that if that's the case, this particular object itself is just about 4 meters in length.
Yeah.
1/3 of 12 is 4. So, this may help us to try and figure out, if we look at the size of the object here, then we look at the size of the object in Greg's maps, Greg's videos. Let me get the first one up here that he sent across. Let me get number 11, which is the first video that he sent, and we can let me get this to show up. So the object itself is right over here. And first thing I'm seeing, if we were to take a look at, oh God, this object next to this one's a lot smaller. So either the object is a lot smaller, Jay, or it's much further away. And now we can go ahead and get the measurements of what it is from this particular hotel parking lot to that object, which is out over these hotels, to figure out what's going on.
I think when we measured it last night, and we found that jet inside in the video or whatever, it was around like 7 miles away, 7.5.
Right, but it's hard to tell how far away it is. But what we could do is look at the size in this particular frame of how many pixels across it is. And this one, I guess we could go ahead and scale into it. And at this 100% size, I can't, fuck. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pixels across. And if we zoom into Greg's video, let me just, to make sure that's 100%, let me just go ahead and do a screenshot of it. Let's go ahead and bring that screenshot up and take a look at it.
You said that was a fighter jet?
Yeah, it was. It's the red arrows, my friend. 100%. It's an air show that was going on. This object itself looks a bit different, but it is 1, 2, 3.
Okay, yeah.
3 to 4 pixels in size, which is almost the size of the object we've got in this video. Actually, this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And actually, I'm leaving out the lighter colored stuff. Let's look at this one. This one is 1, 2, 3, 4 pixels in size. So if I take this one down, get rid of the edges, we've got...
So it's a little bit smaller than that one.
It's a little bit farther away.
Or farther, yeah.
So what we have to do is go ahead and measure the distance from where the person was standing to where the jet was, right? Yeah. And then if we do that, that will then go ahead and give us the ability to calculate the distance of, if it's the same object, how far is this one away versus this one?
Yeah.
And this one is probably about a mile away, is my guess. Because this is much less than a mile away. Andy W., your hand is up.
Yeah, I think Kyle in the back here, he's very good at doing research. They'll probably be flight tracked, won't they, for the red arrows display? So you would know by looking back at that date of that display, how far the red arrows were from the person.
Well, actually, I can go ahead and bring up a map of. If you want, we can do it now.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't remember where this one. Actually, you know what? Let me do this.
Yeah,
Let me.
All we have now is with the object certainly in the red arrows display, because unfortunately Greg hasn't got anything to match it against. But with the red arrows, you know, the only thing we have is this object before, you know, between the camera and the fighter plane,
All right,
behind it, for judging scale.
If I go
Obviously,
to,
Greg has nothing in the sky.
I got you.
I know, Greg, you said
if I go to the
you had a couple of aircraft, didn't you?
If I go to the XF data from Malta, this is the important thing. This is what Greg's has. This is what mine what the Malta video has. This is the data that comes along with the particular images, with the videos that tell us exactly where the person was standing. So if I need to, hold on, let me go ahead and copy this. I need to bring up a browser here really quick. Yeah, let's go to this one. Let's go to this one.
So obviously with Greg, his sighting, I believe Greg said, and he's here so he can chip in, that there were aircraft that were in the vicinity that were taking off or landing from an airport. I don't know if that was in the same line of sight where Greg's putting his thumb up. So you would get an understanding of how far Greg was from the airport, from the flight path. So it might give us some sort of idea where his object was.
I just want to point out real quick, Thomas, that you said that object is potentially 4 meters. That's about 12 feet. Arrow has been classifying UAP that are on the small sides like this as unidentified anomalous aerial vehicles or drones, because they don't believe that an occupant would be able to fit in a craft that small. The truth of the matter is, we already know that these objects, no matter how they appear on the outside, could be much bigger on the inside. So even though we're seeing a 10, 12-foot object, it can actuality be over 300 feet on the inside. Like we've heard testimony about captured objects that exhibit that type of technology.
Correct.
I think Arrow is burying any reports like this as simply being a drone, when in reality, it could be a lot more, like what we're seeing here with this video.
Right. Now, if I go back out of this again, let's zoom up. Can I get out of Street View? No, I'm just going to keep me on Street View. God damn it. Bring this in again. This is the whole, here we go. So this is the hotel parking lot where the video from Malta was recorded. The person was standing literally right in front by the wall in front of the hotel. The name of the hotel is, I can't read it because, well, my eyes can't see it. The Cellini Resort. So in the front parking lot of the Cellini Resort, let's go ahead and drop this down. Actually, you know what? I don't want to go inside the Cellini Resort. Please kick out of this. Let's go ahead and take a look. Now, when the actual air show, is it going to let me rotate this? No, it's not. What we were dealing with, let me go ahead and push this away, and I should be able to go ahead and measure the distance. What we're looking at was something that's out over here, out over the overall bay of what's happening. And if I could measure, I think I need to go to Google Earth. Take it to really quick here, because we want to figure out how far this thing is, right? I want to go there. I want to, come on, go back. Search Google Earth. Let's go to there. Here we go. So now we've got Malta. We know we're in the parking lot. And I can rotate this. Can I rotate it? No. I thought there was a button I could use to rotate this thing. There we go. So We're looking at something that's out about at this distance out here because they're flying straight over the city going to this point. Let's take the median of that. Let's go ahead and do a measurement, and let's do a measurement in, pull this here, going out to here, and the length is in meters, which is 807.38 meters. Give me a second here to get this. 807. Okay, it's half a mile away, Jay. So the object that we saw in coming from Malta is approximately half a mile away from the actual user, which would put, if this is 25% smaller, it'd be 25% longer distance. What were we looking at? 0.6 or probably 0.65 miles. I mean, from the actual user. If we double it, no, it's not 6. Double it would be a mile for Greg. So probably Greg's thing is about 0.75 miles from where he was actually seeing the object. Does that help at all?
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's, again, that's if it's the same size of the object that what Greg saw. So now let's go through the videos that Greg took in order. The first one we've got going is this one here is, let me get to downloads again. Their downloads. The first video we're going through is number 1611.mov. So let me go ahead, pull these other things out of the way that we've been looking at and tying it to. Let's get rid of those. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to shut this window down as well, whatever that is, and get rid of that one. Good, and get rid of the Malta video. We don't need to see that at this point. Let's get into it. So we've got the object of what Greg was looking at. Let me zoom this up so everyone can kind of see what we're dealing with here. Okay, we've got the video file zoomed up. Let's take a look at what we're showing in the app. And now let me get to the actual object itself that I've got selected. And I want to go to my filters, and I want to go ahead and throw on the color correction that we had up and going last night. And everybody should be able to see it. Now, if I go ahead and zoom into the object, basically what we're doing, we're taking what's there, we're sharpening it, and we're adding a color correction so we can see the actual object as it moves around. Now, if I take it back to the very start of this and take where the object is and zoom in a bit more so we can kind of see what's going on in the sky around it, we're going to get...
It is kind of silverish.
And it is kind of silverish. That's why it's... Wait a second. I'm doing it the wrong way. Let's zoom in a bit more. Let's down about 2 seconds where we're going to get to it. As it moves a little bit to the left, as Greg moves the camera a little bit, we're almost up to it to where we start seeing something around the craft showing up, which means it's probably going to go invisible shortly.
Yep.
And then it goes invisible. And we should be having that starting to show up now. Let me see if this is going to...
It's like it's manipulating the gravity waves around it or something, making itself invisible.
Right. Now when it goes invisible, it went invisible, came back. How many seconds are we into this? We're in 4 seconds already. Let me get back, I think. Let me go back to the other videos I had. Hold on a second.
It has a little aura around it.
It does, definitely. Let me get to my other videos that I've got here that I've downloaded in Disclosure tonight. Let's bring up the first one again. It's a little bit darker and complex to go ahead and see. Let's bring this one up again, and I think right around 3 seconds. Unless I've screwed up the settings from last night. 1, 2. All right, here we go. Why is this not? Okay, so we've got it showing up lightly. Let me see if I can adjust this a bit more to go ahead and get to the color correction. Let me take the brightness now. Brightness down a little. There we go. And push up.
Yeah, you can start to see the shapes. It's
Right.
like a V. It's almost
Right.
like a V formation, like a.
Right. So here we've got the we can see that the object just went invisible. When it went invisible, first thing we're getting is that checkerboard pattern we talked about. After the checker pattern really comes in, and if you look at it, it's really a square. It's almost like they're saying, put something here to hide what's going on, and we're going to go to it, and there's the object, Jay.
Yeah, exactly. Wow, there you go.
That's what we're talking about.
That's a perfect picture right there.
Let
that
me
field of disruption is huge around that object.
Let me go ahead and do this. I want to go ahead and bring this up, do a print screen. I want to be able to.
Thomas, that does look like crop circles and stuff. Like.
All right, someone, TBT, can you mute yourself, please? We're getting echo coming through your microphone, TBT. Can you mute yourself, please? Let me just do it from here.
Yeah, I was just saying that does look like crop circles, though.
It does, and that's that one object that we've seen before. You can't see it there. Let me put it up over here. Does it look similar to that?
If I'm not mistaken, Gene, with crop circles, the same thing happens with the crops. The magnetical interference messes with the corn of the crops and bends them without breaking them, correct?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Okay. It's like a magnetical charge or something, and bends, or it makes the stalks of the corn or something like a little bit longer, where they're like
radiation.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of it.
It's a gravitational thing. You know, Mr. X is calling it resonant waves. Someone wanted to know, is this to the naked eye? Yes, this is what you would see with the naked eye. We haven't done any major adjustments to this image except increase the sharpness and deal with the brightness and contrast. So we're not adding any pixels. We're not doing any AI. However, this is what's showing up. And if this object is... Let's go back. There is the object in size. And if we go to that...
So is that the actual size of the object we're seeing there, and then now we're seeing like a smaller object or a visual representation of a... I don't know. It's weird. So weird.
The best way to look at this...
It's like the ball goes invisible, and then all of a sudden you can see the outline of the bigger picture.
Right. What the scientists have talked about is when you see an orb flying around, right? For example, this orb. This orb is not by itself. This orb is accompanied by something much larger.
A controller or something.
That's invisible to the eye, invisible to radar. And the only things it's visible to would be something to the extent of a camera that can see objects that are visible with a camera that can see down to negative 60 degrees Fahrenheit, which eliminates 99.99999% of anybody out there who's going to have this technology. And the non-human intelligence is relating on that. So you've got the actual object itself, and for some reason, when this thing goes invisible, this thing that's accompanying it
becomes visible.
Becomes visible. Now, it's not becoming visible completely, but what we've got is, let let's go back. What we're talking about is it's visible for a frame, but it's almost like we're seeing a gravitational wave or something that's giving us an echo of this larger object.
Yes, the frequency. Yep.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Yep. That could be it too.
So we got that. We got the object that goes along with it. But even here, we've got
that goes along with it, going in and out. It's creating it. Yeah.
Right. We've got this one that shows up. But what's interesting is we also have then this one, which is another pattern that shows up. And if you look when the craft moves, this pattern around it moves around with it. And then it gets, when it disappears, it gets more clear. Granted, that does look like two eyes, a nose and a mouth with kind of hair going along with it. Yeah, it's an ancient Egyptian, my friends. No, it's not that. It's just pareidolia. But again, it's that pattern that we're seeing that maybe is what we saw before. And now it's, Jay, a little bit high, a little bit more flattened towards what we're seeing.
Because it's changing angles. That's what I say.
It could be, yeah. Right. Now, one of the things we brought in the back conversation that we saw last night, and it never disappeared, was that this is actually near a Lockheed facility in the area, isn't it?
In Bethesda, yeah, very large one.
So let's go ahead and bring up the map of where this thing was at. This is where the, let me turn off the filter here for a second. Give me a second to go ahead and do this. I've got filters to make it easier to see. Filters. Let's turn off the color correction. All right. So this is where the object is, or the viewer is. The viewer is looking up to the northeast, and it's not that far from Bethesda, where Lockheed has a research facility. Correct?
Yeah, it's the Lockheed Martin headquarters. They're Washington, D.C., and they conduct research over there as well.
Which could mean we always see UFOs around nuclear materials or other stuff. This could be something.
Or military bases.
Or military bases where there's nuclear stuff or specific kind of weapons, etc. This could be really tied to Bethesda, not just an airplane that's flying in the area, because I believe you guys did some research on some flights that were going on last night. And what was the results of those, guys? Was it just a normal commercial airliner that was flying in the area?
There was a jet that was in the photo that we could see. It was a big jet that was coming out, and it was near there, but not. I can't really explain it that good as he probably could from last night.
Who described it? Gene?
He had the actual 24-hour flight radar open and everything.
Was that Kyle or Gene?
I think it was Kyle.
Kyle, you with us now?
Yeah, man.
So was that a commercial airliner you brought up and you looked at last night that was happening at the same time and what we were seeing in Rockville?
It was coming out of Baltimore to the, and it was at, a lower, I think it was 16,000 feet. It would have been, pretty visible. To the northwest of where he was standing, there's a small airfield, like Cessna type craft.
Right.
And let's see, go up a little more, bring the location down, and go a little bit up northwest. You see an airstrip. And
this isn't a live map, but I do have the live maps around here somewhere. Let me go ahead and bring. No, that's not that one. Rockville, Maryland. Let me go ahead and copy this one. CTV. Let's go ahead and bring. Isn't it? God damn it! All right, here it is. It's this one I want to bring up. So if we go ahead and from the actual spot of we were in Rockville, Maryland, I believe right over here, and you're saying the observation was over here, and you're saying to the northwest there's a small airport. But I don't think the UFO, if this is a UAP or UFO, I don't think it's going to be really. Do you think there's something at that airport that it would be really interested in, or do you think this is just
No, it's not. From what I understand, he was northeast. That's where he was. That was his point of view.
Yeah, he was looking out here near the Rockville Civic Center and stuff.
Yeah. If it caught any, it's not likely it caught any of those Cessnas. But if it did, it would have appeared in the far left side of the video. If you go up a ways, you'll run into, go straight north from point of view. And there was traffic coming out of Baltimore.
So it's just commercial airliner traffic is what we're dealing with. They're not dealing with anything from the military or anything like that.
North, but at that spot, most of it was around 15,000.
Right. But if you look to the south, not that far from Rockville, what do we have? Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So I would possibly say that's an area of interest, but more than that, I would say the area of interest is probably in Bethesda, potentially at Lockheed's headquarters. Andy, your hand is up.
The thing that people always say, oh, it's some sort of top secret research aircraft of some sort or another. I always have real problems with this, with locations, where Greg filmed this object, if it's some sort of, McDonnell Douglas or another manufacturer producing a really, outlandish form of aircraft that's not known to the general public, why would they be flying these things within such a built-up area? When I had my triangle sighting back in 1991, it was between two cities. Now if this was an experimental research aircraft that they wanted to keep under wraps, why the hell would they fly? There's two cities that are probably, I don't know, about 18 miles apart, if that.
Why would they be flying it over a highly populated area? Exactly, if it's an experimental aircraft.
Here in the UK, here in the UK, we have had a site. I don't believe it's a working Air Force base now. It's up in Scotland called RAF Machrihanish. Now, there's a purported unusual sighting that I read about many years ago coming from this site. It was actually famous. It's Prince Charles, now King Charles, crashed a plane off the end of the runway, or he ran a plane off the end of the runway, which he probably don't want to remember. But a site like this, the air base, actually the runway ran right out to the north, out to the Irish Sea. So they would, if here in the UK they were trying an aircraft like that, it would be somewhere like that where they could get rid of it out to sea,
right?
Very quickly. The same, Area 51. They trial aircraft there because it's such a lockdown area. If anything ever goes down, people can't get in there to find these the wreckage of these objects.
And plus, you don't want to be doing it because it's the same reason why we have had the laws in the United States, or even in Europe for that matter. You can't shoot down drones because they're afraid of what happens to your ordnance if it goes up and comes down. And more importantly, if the drone itself you shoot down comes and crashes, what about the people if it potentially impacts them?
Yeah, I've seen on flight radar, I've seen RAF, British drones flying over the United States. These aren't flying over a built-up area like Washington. They're over a test range, and you guys have got so much land that are invested in test ranges in your country.
Right.
Why would anybody of sound mind send a highly, experimental aircraft in a built-up area? That's one thing that I always really can't justify. You're going to send, if it's that, technologically advanced, just say it's from a reverse engineered, alien craft with a human pilot, you're going to send it out in the middle of the Pacific. If that thing goes down, unfortunately it's a suicide flight for the pilot, but you're never ever going to find that object. You ain't going to fly in upstate New York or somewhere like that, are you? So
Probably not, my friend.
That's always my thinking on these things. You just aren't going to send them out in a populated area.
Mm-hmm.
So let me point out real quick, Andy, like Thomas said earlier, you would need specialized type of equipment to even see it. It's invisible to the naked eye.
Yeah.
So if they're flying that kind of advanced technology over populated areas, they're not really expecting anybody to see it. Plus, it's moving at a 30th of a second, right, Thomas?
Right. Well, but it's not moving to 30th of a second. Whatever this,
like blinking in and out.
Whatever this. Let me turn this out again. I need to get my filters back on. Hold on. I need to select this really quick. Get my filters. Let's bring the color correction back on again. Again, what the hell is that?
It looks like a craft to me, but it's only visible for a 30th of a second.
Right, which means this is beyond human technology. You have something that shows up for a blink, and they're probably counting on stupid humans who like to throw nuclear shit at each other not to see it. But either way, either that or, I don't know, man. It's just crazy. Firefly is a mothership. Who knows what it is? Are we seeing into another dimension? Is this just a larger craft that's there because it's freaking huge? If it's 10 times larger, I mean, we're talking something, 4 meters across? Let's put this...
120 feet.
Well, no, we're calling something that would be at least... if it's 10 times its size, which would be 40 meters across, which is huge.
120 feet. Yep.
If not larger. If not larger.
Right.
Yeah.
That's big.
Yeah, it is. Uh-oh, I've got my...
And they didn't expect anybody to see this at all.
1 second. Go ahead, Mike. Hey, I'm in the middle of a live stream right now. Fly back.
Yeah, so this is something that whoever is flying it never expected anybody to be videotaping it, or anybody on the ground for that matter, looking up and being able to catch this.
Right.
They wouldn't.
Now, Anonymous Rex in the back has a question. Is the orb the only portion of a larger craft we can see? And I'm going to go ahead and basically say no at this point. What we've heard in the past, that when orbs are flying around and we can see them, there is a much larger cloaked UAP that's flying around with these potential crafts. So in that particular case, we're literally talking about, you've got the orb that's flying around with it. You've got this much larger craft, but for some reason, when the orb goes invisible, this thing here is only visible for 1/30th of a frame. And more importantly, this repeats itself.
That it's using the power of the orb, right? And it's all right. The orb is going and using its power to turn invisible, and those waves are going out and disturbing what is around it.
Gotcha. So it's like almost like a twig or a branch in the water, right?
Yeah.
You throw in a rock. The rock goes ahead, it ripples out, the water ripples out. When it hits that particular object, you see the ripples then coming up from that object. That's what you mean, right?
Yep. That's exactly right.
So we're talking like a gravitational warp field kind of a thing, a gravitational field that's causing these impressions, because I don't think we're seeing the actual craft. We're seeing a effect of some kind of gravitational field that we're seeing this stuff kind of show up in the cloud cover, because there's something when you have the additional moisture, additional humidity in the air, that when you do this stuff, it actually makes something more visible. At least that's what.
Yeah, and the ionized atmosphere, it helps as well.
Right.
It could be a portal that these orb objects are going in and out of.
But I actually like Jay's theory that when it goes invisible, that goes ahead and creates a gravitational wake that spreads out, that then illuminates this particular craft for a period of time. So let's zoom out a bit.
Sense.
Yeah, so now we've got that. Let's go ahead and take the video here. And we can see that, again, 1/30th of a frame, it's there, and then it's gone. But then when it comes back again, there's some kind of an echo going around it. that you can go ahead and see right there. So let's go ahead and go a couple frames, and then we've got that face. There's that Egyptian face again, Mike.
Yeah.
If you want to call it that.
That's the distortion wake.
Yeah, of course. In the wake, but it's still there. Let's count how many frames. 1, 2. It shows up. It's still there, but it's faded out. 3, 4, 5. So that object. Okay, let's go back. 1, 2, 3, 4. When it disappears on the 4th frame, it becomes the most visible. Go to the next frame, it fades out. That's 5, 6, 7 frames. So that's 7/30 of a second. Again, it's a flash and it's gone.
You wouldn't see that with the naked eye at that
right. Now, the naked eye, when Greg was watching this, Greg, did it appear to be appearing and disappearing when you were watching it?
Not one bit. Not one bit at all. It was visible to my eye the whole time, like solid.
Right.
The only anomaly I saw from it was, like I said, that it exerted that little bit of whatever the trail or whatever it was coming out the
right.
one side.
As I step away for, okay, it's not clearly day. Are you taking clouds? No, okay, it is daytime. Just so you know what we're dealing with here is I have a filter going on OBS that is doing a color correction. That's what you see with the normal sky. When I go ahead and increase the brightness or decrease the brightness and decrease the contrast a little bit, this is what we're actually seeing in the cloud. Now I'm going to go ahead and step away for 30 seconds, but Brian Premble, your hand is up. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, great work, Thomas. And I just want to reveal what I was texted this morning out of the blue, by the way, is that quantum physics is also revealing waveforms and frequencies that condense and expand for both as they pass in the states of balance and unbalance. Now, this was passed me by an extremely high-level whistleblower that everybody here would probably know his name, and that the unbalance is used in the propulsion. So I don't know what that means, but that waveforms and frequencies condense and expand as it passes in the states of balance and unbalance. So that may be part of the explanation about why you're seeing things jump in and out of the photos and not.
Well, that also might explain the distortion field that we're looking at as well, Brian.
But also, exactly right. We have to look back to other incidents like Aquadilla, Puerto Rico, when we've seen similar stuff like this go on with duplication and other stuff happening. And this is really something that, ties into something much bigger than what we're seeing in the sky. We're distracted by that when there's actually this huge, larger thing that's going around with it. So let's go ahead and continue. The other things we're getting as we go through this is we're almost seeing the duplication going on here, where instead of it going ahead and just moving 1 pixel at a time, we're seeing as it moves, it disappears from one location and comes back to another location. Let's zoom it out. Look for any details that we're going through this. Comes into another one, goes into that one, rather than just moving along, which then also potentially identifies as something with a warp field, because depending on how the object is moving relative to Greg when he was watching it, it can cause duplication, it can cause invisibility. Invisibility is where the light coming from the back of the object wraps around and comes out the other side. And as Dead Fish Cheese Spread said, yes, it's compressing time. It could be. Let's go ahead and go through this one again. We're just going to race through all through these where we got that one. And I have to go ahead and watch for the larger ones. Let's move this on. It's gone. And this one's interesting. It disappears for 1 second, but we've got this pixelated appearance that only shows up a couple times in different videos, but it's just like you got to scratch your head and say, what the fuck am I looking at here? There's so many things that don't align with our knowledge on this stuff that just, let's Let's go ahead and move out a little bit more. Actually, now it was over here. Let's go back. As it moves to the left in this direction, goes invisible, we get that pattern that fades in over 1 frame, 2 frame, it's 3 frame, 4 frames. So over 3/30ths of a second, which would be 1/10 of a second, 1/20th of a second, let's call it that. It shows up and it's gone, and then it's going to appear off to the left. On that note, let's go ahead and re-scroll. Go and zoom out a little bit so we can see what's happening more in the bigger scene around it. It's disappeared. All right, here we go. It's about to come out. How do we know? There is that grid pattern again. There is that checkerboard like we've been seeing before. Let's go ahead and where's the darker spot? Maybe up here it's going to show up. Let's go ahead and take a look. Zoom out again. And there it is. In relation to that grid, the grid is here. It's appearing just to the left of where the grid is. Now, here's the thing. We're seeing the grid. We're seeing these different shapes that are going on to go ahead and actually go around the object. If you go anywhere else, let's just take a quick scroll around. Anywhere else in this video,
it's smooth as glass.
We're not seeing a replication of any of these events going anywhere else in the video frame.
Right.
They're only where the object is.
That section. Yep.
And there we go. There is that grid pattern. Let's go down below the wires. Take a look down by the trees. Nothing. So the only thing that's having that kind of effect going on, literally, is the object in question. Let me see if I can get that a little bit better. I bet you I can. Let me go over to here. Let me go to filters again. Let's see if I can get that a little bit more to pop out. Let me go to the color. I don't need a ChatGPT. Let's go to the color correction. That's about as best as it's going to go. If I have contrast, bring it up, down, put it back to where it was. I can lower the brightness a bit more, but it's just going to get to be too much. So let's leave it where it was at. Seriously.
Yeah, I could see it like this. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's go ahead and move on through this particular video. The object is back again. Let's zoom out so we can watch what's happening in the overall sign of things. Now, this is one of the things we mentioned before. It's like a washboard, kind of, where you're getting light and dark, light and dark, light and dark, light and dark going on. And we've seen this effect, just like the other one, go on multiple times. So if we've got that object, which is like a gravitational wave, if I were to go ahead and turn off the color correction, you can barely see it with the naked eye zoomed in. But again, just by doing a minor color correction, that's what's going on. Now, if we take this frame and find out where our object is going to go ahead and show up. Oh, there we go. Look at that. There's another grid pattern that showed up after the washboard, Mike. And it comes out, goes away, and there's our object again.
Right. In close proximity.
Yes, every single time. So let's continue on. Oh, this is an interesting one. This one, we're getting a horizontal and vertical distortion going right where the object is. And this shows up for one frame initially starts to come in, 2, 3, 4, it disappears, and it's gone. So 4/30ths of a second, again, imperceivable to the human eye for the most part.
Yeah, it could be right in front of you. You wouldn't see it.
Correct. Oh, I would call this more than crop circles in the air. I think we're actually seeing some kind of a structured craft, something from that's here, just invisible, or potentially something coming from another dimension, honestly. Because dimensional alien seems to be what's the in thing these days, Mike. All right.
We had David Grush talking about interdimensional tech.
Yep.
Yeah, this is what we're seeing. We're observing this. And Luna said that the other day in the interview.
Yep.
In skips, he was exposed to this type of evidence, technology like this.
Exactly. Now, if we go a little bit farther, the object just went and disappeared up here. We've got it. Again, for people to see, there it is by itself. Now we go ahead and bring it in a little bit, and we go ahead and go through. Oh, come on. Now we've got this shape, and I don't know if this is like the other one we were seeing, Mike. This is just yet another gravitational wave coming out from this thing, exposing something much larger that's accompanying the craft. Ah, here we go. We've got it again. There is that grid pattern that happens. One frame, 1/30th of a second, it's there. And then it's gone. Now, this is not the iPhone compression or iCloud compression or any of this stuff like that. This is just literally what is coming up in the patterns of what. Exactly. Yep. And it's not a bird. It's not a plane. It's not a weather incident. It's not something wrong with the camera. Literally, if we look at the overall scene, the only place where this is showing up is right where the object is. Now, to the naked eye, kind of, it's kind of like, reminds me of, Mike, is the Aurora Borealis. Aurora Borealis, you can't see shit. You can barely see it with the eye, right? But you bring out a camera, and all of a sudden you see all the color, right?
Right.
So here we've got that object again. Let's go ahead and we've got it showing up 1/30th of a second. Turn off the color correction for a second. It's barely perceivable to the human eye. But then when we throw our color correction in there, the details pop up.
Sure they do. It's anomalous. Well, according to AI, it identified this as anomalous footage.
Yeah, it did. Now, what's interesting in this one is we've got the pattern, Mike, but now it almost looks like someone smeared the pattern and brought it down to give us a W shape. But it's the same stuff, but it's almost like it's just literally part of it has been pulled down to give us this W effect.
Right.
And that's there. Again, 1/30th of a second, and it's gone. And there's our craft. Where is it at in orientation? The craft is right here. And if we go forward, there it is. So again, it's always right in orientation to the object. It's either on the side, top, bottom. Sometimes we've seen it where that circular thing that we've seen with all the different round discs and everything, sometimes the orb will show up directly in the middle of that.
So it could be like an interdimensional portal where this object is traveling in and out, and we're seeing it.
Correct, yes.
The distortion field.
Oh, and AI is never an expert, but if it has a lot of information in its language model, metagaming, it can analyze it and give you a good analysis of what it is and potentially what it isn't. And that's by actually giving it the frames, describing what's going on. But yeah, aliens from beyond or where it could be. So let's continue on. Let's go ahead and bring that up a little bit higher so we're not going to get mixed in with the chat as it moves along. There we go. All right. Getting ready to disappear. We're seeing disturbances going around the object again. There we go again, around the object, this time when it's visible. It's visible for 1/30th of a second again. Move this around a little bit. Let's zoom out so we can see what's going on in the overall picture of things. And this is where we start to see, and this is what we've seen several times, is some kind of projection coming from the bottom of the craft, going straight down. We've also seen it to where it goes to the left of the craft. Again, this is something that is repeatable, and we see it multiple times.
Right.
Oh, this is a good one. This is something where we've got something else moving across the field of view. Let me bring the brightness up on this one because it's down a little bit. Here we go. So here we've got the object of what we're dealing with. And now we've got these little spots here, here, and here. And what we're talking about is something that's moving at a different space and time than us, because right now, this object is appearing in multiple places. It's here, it's here. There it goes from that spot to that spot. Here we go. And we're actually seeing a little bit of the distortions like we've seen before around it. Let's go to the next frame. It shows up right here. And then and the next one, it pops to here. And the next one, when it pops, there we go. It's actually here and here. Now it's going to go to this one. Now it's going to go to the next one where we've got, again, some kind of anomalous event going on around it. Let's zoom out again. It's at this spot now. It's over here, and we can see it's also over here at this point. It's at this object here. It's now here, and it's gone. So here we have something, Mike, that's skipping literally across the screen from space to space, which either means it's moving really fucking fast, or we're dealing with something that's not just that. This has been described as skipping time, right? Almost like something is jumping from place to place to place. Gosh dang it. There was a good example. I don't have a piece of paper or a marker to go ahead and do this. It's almost like if you fold up time, draw a line across it, and extend it out, you see the object skip from place to place to place because it's literally skipping through our time frame.
Right. Well, it was described initially as these craft are operating outside of our normal time and space, which could be what we're seeing here. And didn't the Ukraine study that they did classify these dark objects as phantoms as opposed to the cosmics?
Yes.
With that study they did. And that's what we're looking at in this video footage.
Is something like a phantom. It's not going ahead. But you know what? We are seeing some silver stuff on this and lighter stuff on it. So it could be like a phantom or it could be something else. But either way, we've got the object and then something much larger that's accompanying it. So let's get to the end of this video. As we get into it, it disappears. Does anything else show up around it here? Probably not. Let's go ahead, and we've got the object there. And now we're getting that W effect going again as it jumps from one place to the next between frames. Now it disappears completely. Let's open up the field of view. Let's find out where it went to, and that's the end of the video. So that's the first one. And we've got like 4 or 5 videos of this, Mike. Let me go ahead then and jump to the most recent video that Greg has shared. Let me get back to my Finder. Let me find those files again. Where are they at?
They should be in higher resolution as well.
This one's in a bit higher resolution than what we saw yesterday. Let's bring it up and see where it takes us. Now, the difference in this one is there's a lot of trees and other things in the area that's taking up a lot of the bandwidth for the codec of the camera that's going on. So the overall detail of what we're going to be seeing in this is a little bit less, just because we have all this detail, and all this detail that's going on takes up additional bandwidth, which reduces the overall visual quality of what we're seeing in other places. With that said, let's jump.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure,
Bob?
please do.
I think, yeah, this is the only thing good about this video. This is the one that actually has the plane. I think about maybe like 20 seconds in, you'll see the plane go behind it. And then this is also good to give people a perspective, because if you see the tree line and it kind of makes like a little bit of an L, watch the object in relation to the tree line, because I'm moving my hand, and so this way you actually get to pick a point in those trees and you'll see.
Now, Greg, this is 20 seconds in. I'm not seeing a plane.
It's coming, dude. Yeah, there's definitely a plane.
There it is. I got it. We got it.
Okay. Yeah.
So let's go ahead.
Yeah, there's the plane, dude.
So the plane comes in at 33 seconds. So let's go ahead And let's look around the craft. More importantly, let's look around the plane and see if there's any disturbances going on, Greg.
Yeah,
So let me go ahead and turn on our color correction is on for seeing. Is it on? Yeah, it's on. It's just really light. So we've got the object here. We've got the plane. Now let's watch the plane as it moves across the field of view. And I just want to see. So we've got the object there. We've got the plane. Let's see if there's any disturbances that show up similar to what we've seen around the object in the past. And the answer to that so far is no. The object's not, I guess it just does disappear from a frame here or there, but it's just the plane going ahead and continuing. But we're not seeing, Greg, any kind of disturbances that we've seen around the object so far.
Yeah, not without the filter. Yeah, like I said, it was just a solid object the whole time.
Right.
And yeah, I have to. There's actually Rex saw it too. When on one of the videos, you can actually see in like the raw footage, you can see it emits something for about like 3 seconds. So
yeah, we've got the yeah, exactly. So now we've got that object moving along. There's nothing still. This is the plane up here. There's no major object showing up around it. And if this was something that was dealing with compression coming from the camera, you would expect to go ahead and see some other kind of disturbances going around the other objects in the sky if the camera is treating everything the same. Kyle, your hand is up.
What's the timestamp on that video?
Give me a second. That's today's date. Last opened. No, the one sent through there. Let me get back to number 16 in the other spot that I have it.
Wasn't the date of that video November 7th, Thomas?
Yeah, let me get to Disclosure tonight. I know, let me just get back to, this is video number 1616. Or 16... I have 1614. That's close enough to it. It's right around Saturday, November 8th, 2025, around 5:56 p.m.
Negative Ghost Rider. Yeah, that's wrong. It's Friday. It's whatever last Friday was, and it's around 3:43 to 4.
So this is showing my time, but yeah, it shows.
We want the correct time, so that's, yeah.
I know that. Let me just get up and show you what the file shows.
I believe you. Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, but I'm just saying it's from 3:43 to 4:04 p.m. Eastern.
So if I were to bring...
It wasn't Saturday.
If I were to bring up Pixie, let's go into here and shrink it down a little bit. There we go. It was not there. Let's go at 1920 by 1080. It was on... Okay, it was modified November 8th, so it was November 7th then, as you're saying, around 3 o'clock Eastern, right?
Anywhere 3:43 to 4:04.
There you go.
I need if you know the exact time that video started, I'll find the flight.
I'll check my phone now, man. All right.
So as we're seeing and going through it, there's no, I think the audience can agree on this, there's no disturbances going around the human craft as it's flying in the air, anything that was even close to what we saw, and now the jet is gone. On that note, let's go ahead and find out where this craft was again. It's down over here. Let's get back to this one over here. Let's get into it. Let's go ahead and bring this one up, and let's take a closer look at the object as it's flying around this particular, or moving around in this particular scene. And this is saying, if you look at Greg's camera is moving through this, but you can see the distance we have going from the actual things in the foreground to the object. are maintaining consistency, meaning this object is just sitting out there and it's hovering and it's not moving anywhere. Move across, move some more. Let's go ahead and go through it. And I think eventually we will get the grid pattern in this to show up, because I've at least seen that one. So this one doesn't have the duplication going on. It doesn't hit the grid pattern. We went to this one because this is the latest video we've gotten from Greg that we haven't looked at yesterday. And that's just Greg moving the camera, picking something up, going out of business, say, oh, there was a truck going right in between it. So let's zoom back out again, zoom back in. Do I have my filters on? On brightness, bring it down a little bit. Let's see if that helps to bring out any details. The object in this one is primarily just hanging out, not really moving anywhere, just staying firm in the scene, not turning invisible. Because when it turns invisible, that's when the magic happens.
It moves a lot, actually. Like I said, it starts with that little bit right there, but you can see it goes all the way to the right and up and then down again. It's, yeah, if you stay
you can see it slowly going up now. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and definitely you can, yeah, it's really cool, man. It's just like floating. It's like really methodic, you know?
That's when you got your finger in there to try and make sure it was in focus. Bring this down around. And that's your finger coming in again.
Yeah, zoom out a little bit. You can really tell. You can really see how it moves.
Oh yeah, we got it. I just want to. I just want to see if there's other patterns. Now it's gone invisible. Let's go ahead and take a look at where it's just at. There's the object coming back. Nothing showing up yet when it goes invisible, but we are getting something that's going around it right now that we haven't seen. All right. Yeah, could have seen Greg by now and realized that Greg is watching. You never know. Just the craft itself. This is probably the least remarkable video out of all of them, but it's definitely, there's a plane moving along that we saw before. So let's go ahead and continue more. There's the plane and the orb. I know somewhere in here eventually we're going to get that grid pattern to go ahead and show up again. Not there. Okay. Let's move it along. We are, we got ways to go. All right. Just hit play for a second. Move it around so we can keep our eyes on it. Playing in real time.
I hear the jets flying over.
Yeah.
Mike, that's actually the traffic you're hearing.
Oh, is it?
Yes,
okay, yeah.
Okay.
So this one is, okay, I think we're going to get close over here. We're going to be seeing that pattern again. Just trying to keep it for everyone to see. This is, again, not a lot of stuff going on in this one, but this one's new from what we have seen. This is probably the last video in the sequence you recorded, correct, Greg?
Yeah, you're correct.
Dang, you're moving. Greg is moving the camera everywhere here. Let's go ahead and get through this. And eventually we're going to go ahead and see that grid pattern show up around it. And what's interesting here, out of all the clips we've got, this one is Not going invisible as much as the other videos that we've seen. Maybe you were found out, Greg.
Yeah, and the weird thing is that, this is at the point when I was the closest to
Mm-hmm.
it.
Show that. You should be getting into a spot here to where we're eventually going to go ahead and see that grid pattern show up. Getting near the end. So this is just the craft acting like a normal craft at this point. Just kind of hanging out in the sky, not doing a lot of anything, not exposing anything. I think you were found out, Greg.
Yeah, look how far off it is off the original point. I'm sorry, I can barely hear you. I think it's the actual audio from the...
Yeah, you turn that
okay,
down.
there you go. Yeah, I can hear you now. But yeah, look how far off it is away from its original starting point.
Correct, sir. We've got the craft going there. We've got this one. So this is the last one. All right, let's... Doesn't go invisible. You know, out of all the clips we have, Greg, this one is the most steady of an object in the sky that acts like just a regular flying object we've seen many times without stuff really going on.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
There's a bird going by. Forget about the bird, Greg. There we go. Something shiny. There we go.
Hey, it flew in front of my lens, dude.
And that's the end of the video. So let me go from this one. Let me go to the we've gone through the first one. We've gone through the I think we've gone through one. Yeah, we've gone through one. Let me go to 14. No, let's go to 12. This one should be pretty interesting, I think. Here we go. Here we've got the object. This is the one we're going to be seeing the duplication and everything else going on, just so people understand what we're looking at again. Let me go to filters. Let's turn off the color correction so you can see where the object is in the overall scene. Jumping back into it again. Now this I think the audience is going to like. So let's go ahead. So this is where we start to see duplication going on, where you've got the craft, and instead of just one of the craft showing up, it goes one, you'll see two, sometimes up to 4 times when it's moving around in this particular method. Let me turn the color correction back on again so we can see what's going on, where the object is or was. I need to zoom out because I've lost it. Okay, there we go. Hold on. Go back a little. Damn it. Okay, here it is. Duplication again, 2 objects. 2 objects again. 2 objects that are farther apart. 3 objects that are showing up to the left. Now we have 1 object showing up to the right. Zoom out a little bit so we can see what's going on in the overall scheme of things. Figure out where in the hell is this thing going to show up. All right, let's get back to that. Again, some of that washboard stuff showing up. Not sure if we're going to blame it on this particular line, because if it was, it should be going all the way across, not just here, but it's that washboard kind of appearance that we get every so often. More duplication going on. And let me go into here. OBS. Make it a little bit larger. And that'll go behind the scene that I've got going. So now I can see this a little bit better. All right. 2. There we go. 2 objects showing up again. 1 to the left. I think this is the one you were talking about, Greg, where you said it was going, circling around the object.
Maybe, yeah. This is the one. This is one.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
Doesn't it? Either that or going into and coming back out of. I mean, but to me, it looks like, and at one point, don't you like 3 or 4 start to circle the object? I thought.
And that only goes on for one section, and then it's gone. So let's go ahead and take down the chat for right now, so we can just focus on this. Sorry, chat. Here we go. Let's move on so we can see more things in the scene. Time engine right there. I thought I got rid of that. Okay, now it's gone. Let's continue.
If you notice when it splits or whatever, the object in the center gets smaller, and then when it rejoins it, it kind of gets bigger. So maybe it is joining, and then see how it's like the same size but split, and then when it gets back, it goes back to normal size.
Right. Which could be a sign of duplication going on because it's a gravitational cross or a gravitational field that's around it that's causing the duplication to go on. If we continue on a bit more, there we go again, like you're talking about, when it splits into 2, both get light. When it comes back together, it gets darker, which would then go ahead and kind of say, yeah, if the light is coming through, Greg, and it's illuminating it, if it's splitting into 2, potentially, then we're looking at the actual light that would be reflecting is now, from the one object, is now split into 2 particular at the same time. Great observation.
Agreed.
Another pop. Here we're going to go another one, get 2. Now we've got 3. Back to 1 again, back to 2 and 1. Now it's invisible, which means there should be something major possibly showing up in the overall scene. Let's take another look at what's going on as it's invisible. There we go. We've got the grid pattern showing up again, which means it should be showing up somewhere relative to there. There we go. Even now with the grid pattern, if you see it, is even more detailed. And there's the object. Well above it this time. And as it appears, we've got the grids over there as well. As the object appears, all the lines fade that are around the object. Another duplication going on. Disappears for a bit. Camera is looking for something to see. Let me zoom out even a bit more so we can see where it's going to show up. All right. Let's zoom in. It's going to show up right in the middle. And this is, again, Greg, where you're talking about that tail that comes off of it. Again, this one is shooting straight down. It's pretty evident. A little bit more. Now we've got 3 of them, and they're all exhibiting that same downward kind of distortion going on from the actual object. Go from 1 to 3, back to 1 again.
That's wild, my
And
friend.
right below it, now we've got the distortion of the line showing up again, like a washboard. Disappears, comes back, nothing major near it.
He also said something about it venting something too, right?
Yeah, that's the stuff. It could be venting, or it could just be a refraction of light coming off it, Jay.
Yeah, that's pretty true, yeah.
I'm going to go out larger in this. Here you can see the object, and we go to this one, you've got this going down, but right above it, we're also getting this pattern of 1, 2, 3 objects that are around it again. 3 and the other 2 that are here where the object is duplicating. Let's get the mouse out of the way. Where did you go? Where are you hiding? Where did you hide? But if there's things going on, this is the spot where we're potentially going to see it. Now, Greg, when you came out there, I need to step away for a second. What happened to you? I mean, what were you doing when you initially shot this video, and what compelled you to go ahead and record it?
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, at first I just backed my car in, and it shot me right directly towards south-southeast where the object is. I was looking through it in my windshield at the time. Aircraft fly over all the time, so I'm thinking, okay. I was like, no, it's definitely not an airplane. So I'm thinking helicopter because of the round shape, and you wouldn't be able to see the rotors anyway. Again, nothing, didn't move, didn't come towards me, didn't go left, didn't go right, didn't go away, didn't get smaller, bigger. So then I'm like, okay, this is pretty cool. Stepped out of my car, and then I started shooting that. I'm like, okay, this is actually really cool. And then something motivated me to get like a little bit closer, see if I can get closer. But it's like, even when I got closer, it was still like the same distance away, if that makes sense at all, which it doesn't to me. So, I mean, and then I just started, I was like, okay, now I get a little bit closer. So I froggered across the road, shot another one. Okay, I got to get a little bit closer. And then I went a little bit closer. And this is the video that you're seeing now, is when I was supposedly closest to the object, but still looks the same no matter whether I was like 140 yards behind me or here, which is pretty odd. I mean, it didn't get any bigger or smaller even to my naked eye.
Right. And now we've got, okay, so let's move on. So yeah, but this is something, when you saw it, you almost didn't record it, did you?
Yeah, for like a half a second, I'm like, whatever, and I was going to head inside, but then I'm so glad I did. I'm so glad.
Where in the hell did it go? How much time we have left in this one? It's going to come back. Oh, there we go. It's right here. I found it. There we go. There she is. So the object is about right here. It's invisible to the eye. But as it starts to move along, we start to see that grid pattern show up again. And this almost looks more like those round objects that we saw before. Showing up for a frame, moving off to the left. So the object itself is here. It's getting ready to go ahead and pop across to here. Now we've got we've gone from one object potentially. Now it's getting ready to come back. We've got two objects with the stuff going around it. We've got three going on, going back to one. And again, this is, for the most part, if you were to look at it, human eye can't see what's going on. Let's continue on. Jumping around a bit more, it's playing with us at this point. We're getting those horizontal lines to show up again, which should mean it should be getting ready to come back. Didn't realize it disappeared for so long on this one. There it is. So let's jump into here. Let's go back in time a bit. We've got some duplication going on. And now that it's invisible, what is it? There we go. There it is in duplication. I'm going backwards here a little bit. But this is the one spot that is probably one of the longest points we've had of the overall object vanishing. So let's go back to that. Let's zoom in a bit more. And let's go through it a bit more. Here we go. Duplication going on. It's invisible again. Where in the fuck did it go? Okay, there we go. Here we go. Let's bring it in. Take a closer look at what we're looking at here now. Here, and this one's interesting. This almost looks like you've got the central object, right? You've got something that looks like a diamond around it, but then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 little other objects that are around it. And as it jumps back and forth, it comes back in even greater detail.
So that suggests to me that the object, remember you saw the donut and then like the 4 or 5 other orbs around it like we see now? But yet this time the object's in the center of it. So
Pattern is also jumping with it.
Right.
it is. Right, I see that, but so maybe the center of the whatever the donut is or whatever that we've been seeing is part of how it gets, through.
Yeah, but this, I have to say, let me see if I can get back to here. Let me get back to window am I in? Try that one. No. No, it's not that one. I must have closed it down. Give me a second here to find the files. T pictures. Just as a reminder, oh, you guys can't see that. Let me go ahead then and get back to here. Get back to here. Filters. Turn off the shader. Color correction. This is what that other object looked like. And what we're seeing there is something that had the center object, but had more of like a star, like it was in the center of a starburst with four things around it. Now, it could be related to the same particular piece, Greg, or it could just be something else. But great call. Let's get
It's
back.
almost like a starburst, almost like a bursting star out.
Correct. Yes, sir. Let's bring it up a bit more. Zoom out a little bit. Bring it in a little bit more. Popping back and forth between locations. We're still getting those different disturbances going around the actual object itself. Zoom out a bit more. Okay, there she is. All right. This is interesting. We're getting that mirroring effect going on, showing 1, 2, 3, 4, with that central circle going again. And here we can see the 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 with that shape going in the middle again. Now it's coming into greater detail because the object's invisible. We're getting more detail coming from it. Zoom it out a little bit more. There we go. And that does seem a bit more like the other object we were seeing earlier.
That's a big clue. We figure out what that is, that shape, or what it's doing there. Then that's a big clue to, And I think it's not impossible to do so.
Yeah, and it's not like we're seeing two eyes, a nose, and a mouth there. No, it's just pareidolia. We got the object duplicating again. Duplicating. Let me go ahead and just zoom out a little bit more, bring it around. See if we get back to OBS. Can I make this larger? Yeah, it's as good as it's going to get. Let's go ahead and go back to here. Let's go through frame by frame. Zoom out as necessary. We need to figure out where are you hiding from us? There we go. And there was the object again, throwing up the shapes around it as it moves around, duplicating itself and the shapes around it. There was that W shape again that we saw in the other video. Oh, here we go. And there's Shrek. Two eyes with strong eyebrows, a nose, and a mouth, and some round cheeks. Not saying it's an alien, but pareidolia is very interesting when we're dealing with some of this stuff. Why are we seeing it? There we go. Let's go get through it. It's got some other distinct shapes going around it and everything as it happens. Now we're seeing that. There's that tail you're talking about, Greg, going off to the left of the object.
Yeah, that's exactly what I saw with my naked eye. Exactly. It was lasted for like 3 seconds.
Now we've got two objects with a tail going on. I want to zoom in that. What am I seeing beside? Yeah, it's just the tail itself. Other disturbances going around it. Aha, here we go. Here's another instance of that grid pattern that shows up. Would you look at that? And right below it are those horizontal lines that go on that washboard effect. So here we've got, let me move this down. We've got the washboard effect and this grid effect, or the circular grid effect going on, which means the object is going to be showing up somewhere around here. There it is. So in relation to that grid of what we're seeing, the object is about right here. Was there any attempt to shoot down? No, there wasn't any attempt to shoot down. This is just Greg watching it with his camera and videoing it. And all the details that we're seeing here, Greg didn't even know this stuff existed. Correct, Greg?
You're absolutely correct saying so. And yeah, I mean, he's zoomed in right now. If he were to zoom out, yeah, there's a lot of stuff in the video. So I mean, you can see the ground and everything. So if that's what you're asking.
Yeah, you were just recording the object of what's going on, but until I actually brought these videos up and started going through it, you didn't even know this stuff was there.
Not one bit. Yeah, like I said, all I saw was a solid object for the full time I was observing it.
Right.
The whole time.
All right, so let's get back in again. Zoomed in on the object so everyone can kind of see what we're dealing with. Let's go ahead. All right, now we've got that tail going from it again, some duplication. Zoom out while it's zooming out so we can kind of figure out where it's at, look for things going on. We're getting those horizontal lines on the bottom showing up. Ah, here we go. Right before it appears, we've got that almost like a honeycomb pattern, right? Jay?
Definitely looks like a honeycomb pattern, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
And that's what we see around these things too, these different patternings, like you were saying, these are honeycombs, and then we'll see the diamonds, and then we'll see the other shapes. It's
right.
It could be also different sources of energy they're using, or different, maybe it's a different frequency, maybe it's a different power of frequency.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Someone in the audience just said potentially a pine cone shape, and I could see that maybe.
I could see that.
Yeah. Again, this is for every frame we go for it. Okay, it's just starting to show up. 1 frame, 2 frames, 3 frames, 3/30ths of a second, which would be 1/10 of a second, I believe.
Yeah, it's 1/10, Thomas.
And then it's gone. So over about 1/10 of a second, it's visible, and then you can't see shit again. Here was another one, another pop where it went and actually went invisible and came back. Again.
And this is where we see on the bottom of it, the wakes of those lines are moving as well when you see it going from left to right. And, you know.
Here's another one, another part of those wakes of lines. And this one here, I think, looks closer to
a honeycomb.
Well, if that's a honeycomb shape, looks closer to this one. Gren, with the naked eye, you ain't seeing stuff, but if you deal with the contrast and everything, I think it looks kind of similar to this one, tell you the truth. Let me go ahead and put color correction back on again. Let me pull this out and let's continue on. What the fuck is this? What the hell are we looking at, Mike?
I could tell you it's something that they would probably only show in a skiff.
Yeah.
They would never release footage like this for the public.
Oh, hell no. And this time it's actually, that pattern is around for 1 frame, 2 frame, 3 frame. It's more segmenting off to the left now of it. It's gone. Well, mostly gone. 4th frame, it's there. 5th frame, it comes back even stronger. In 6th frame, it's fading out. 7th frame, it's fading out. 8th frame, it's fading out. And now we've got those horizontal lines like we've seen a bunch of times. Would you look at that? It's gone from the grid down to those horizontal lines that are showing up. Interesting.
It looks like some sort of technological effect we're watching.
Yeah, gravitational effect. Something is definitely screwing with what we're seeing. It's actively trying to cloak itself. Unsubscribe, these idiots cater to fans? What fans are we talking about? Yeah. If people don't like this, you don't have to watch. If you want to unsubscribe, I feel for you. But yeah, we're just trying to go ahead and deal with what we're seeing here.
Validating a credible video.
Yeah. But, you know, there are a lot of people out there who don't want to believe. They want to throw Jay Stratton, Hal Puthoff, Lou Elizondo, everybody else under the bus. They call any sightings that are going on as being fake data, not being real. They're calling everything out that's going with Disclosure a psyop.
The more data points we have to give them and research on, and other people can research them as well, the better we are off, because then everybody can research all the same things we are.
Right. And all we're trying to do is share something that is, what the fuck are we looking at? And by the way, Jay, you were like a senior field investigator for MUFON, right?
He was state director.
You were state. He was state director at a time. Yeah.
Correct.
Let's go on from there. It's duplicating again. I'm watching in like 3 windows at the same time to make sure when I'm showing this stuff. Sorry, chat. Let me go ahead and get over here, raise it up a little bit higher so you guys can see this a little bit better. I've got one view that I'm looking at that's my window that shows all the stuff that's going on. I have another view of what I'm showing to OBS. Then I have the original one over here that I'm going through. So let's continue on. We're getting some kind of creepy crawler thing coming down on the bottom. It jumps and gets 2 and comes back to us 1 again. More duplication going on. Let me zoom out now that it's gone invisible again. Time we got left, we're almost at the end. We're 57 seconds in of a minute 1. And it's gone. Let's see if it comes back. That can't be it. No, that's just part of the trees. And there it is. She's back. Okay, so I found out an anchor point to go from. Let's just zoom in right here now that we can see where it is when it appeared. And let's see if there's any disturbances going on around it. No, there aren't. So let's just go forward on this. There we go. There's the object again. Bring it in. That's probably one of the better views of that with the disturbances going around it. 2. Now it flipped back to 1. Back to 2 and 1 again. There go those lines again that we've seen a bunch of times. And actually we have duplication going. It's more than it's a triplication of the object. More duplications going on as we're getting towards the end of this video. All right, we've got, and that's the end of video 2, which is number 12. Now, if I go back to the files and where I have these downloaded at, I want to go to Disclosure tonight. That's number 12. No, I can't get to that one. 12, number 14, and that's the video. It's 20. That's the one we went through before. Yes. Gene, you have your hand up, my friend? 14, 20.
Yep. Wait, pop on. There we go. Yeah, I just wanted to share. So earlier today, I was on a call. Jim Allrack had organized with the Tedesco brothers, and I had a couple of screen grabs from last night with those wave artifacts and the some of that repeating info we were talking about, and that's something that they're familiar with. They've seen before. So we're going to try and get everybody together. So they might be able to, Brian might be able to, I'm sorry, Greg might be able to share those, or you and Tim as well, Thomas, with them, because they were very interested in the few that I had.
Yeah.
And particularly those artifacts or things they've had some experience with. So I just wanted to throw that
So
out
they've
there
seen
for you.
stuff like this in the past as well.
Yeah, yeah, and they had a couple of explanations. I won't try and recommunicate them, but definitely I think something worth looking into more with them.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, a bunch of great videos that we've gone through here tonight, a lot of stuff to try and figure out what the heck it is we're seeing. But I think, Gene, more than anything, what we can go ahead and throw this in the box is this is something that's not normal.
Absolutely. I mean, that is unidentified. It is anomalous.
Yeah,
I just finished the whole hole.
absolutely. Wow, well, 2 hours. Where did they go, Mike?
Clean it. You have words.
Quickly.
Have you really been live for 2 hours going through this? Yeah. So a lot of stuff, a lot of interesting things. Glad we could go ahead and share this. It just reamplifies when we don't have a show. We say, go outside and look up. Don't just walk around on your phones. Look up, and if you see something, record the video. That's probably the best step anybody could do.
If you see something, record something.
Absolutely. And share it and look at it. And if you think you just saw a dot, go back through it and look through it one frame at a time, because you might actually see something that you didn't even know that was there. Case in point, what we just went through. All right.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Mike, is there anything we haven't? I haven't checked X to see what's going on. Is there anything we haven't covered? I think we already covered some of the stuff that's going on out in the world right now.
No, nothing.
All right, my friends.
We're good.
So let's go ahead and wrap this up. I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's show, and I want to thank, we got a couple super chats that came in from our audience. Remember, we are a fan-funded program. I want to thank everybody for your love and support, what we do here at Disclosure tonight. I want to thank Peggy and her South Florida friends sending $4.99. Sunshine welcomes new life into our hearts. And Brian Pemble in the back said, fusion combination of deuterium and tritium produces clear effects that is invisible. Interesting to sound, to say the absolute least. And on that note, friends, I want to thank everybody coming out to this episode of Disclosure tonight. As we usually say, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everybody, but
go back to Party City where you belong.
Absolutely. And we'll catch you on the flip side. Good night, everybody. See you soon. Bye-bye.